In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve for x by completing a square, and this goes along with Precalculus lesson 13. So typically when we solve for x, we're going to factor, and we always ask, well, what's our factor of 51 that, what are our factors, of 51 that add to negative 20, and in this case, 51 is prime. We can't solve it that way. So we have another method we can use called completing the square, and in this method, we want our c term right where this 51 is sitting, we want that term to be a perfect square that we can factor easily. So our first step is to move that 51 over to the other side of our equation. So we're going to subtract it there. And now we need to find out what number we can fill in this blank with. And to do that, this is our, I guess you could call it a little formula. We take our b term, divide by 2, and square that. So 20 divided by 2 is 10, squared is 100. We're going to add 100 here, add 100 here. And now the left side of this equation is easily factorable. And it's a perfect square, so we can write it as just squared and not two sets of parentheses here. And so when we factor these, square root of x is x, square root of x squared is x, square root of 100 is 10. And the sign is determined by whatever our b term is, and since it's negative, this needs to be negative. You could always double check this and multiply x minus 10 by x minus 10, and you should get that quadratic written right there. Now on the right side of this equation, we need to simplify. Negative 51 plus 100 is 49. And now this looks like something that we've solved before. We take a square root of both sides, and do not forget your plus or minus. Square root of x minus 10 quantity squared is just x minus 10. Square root of 49 is 7. And now we can solve for x. So you can set this up like this. X minus 10 equals 7. And x minus 10 equals negative 7. We add 7 on both sides here. X equals 17. Add 7 on both sides. X equals 3. And there we have solved for x. Let's look at another example. On this one, we have a coefficient in front of our x squared, but if you look at this, you notice that that 3 will factor out of each term, so let's divide everything by 3. We get x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0, because 0 divided by 3 is 0. All right, now we can factor this a little bit more nicely, and if you notice right here, well, 16 is a perfect square, but it's negative, so we can't mess with that. So let's move it over to the other side. X squared minus 6x plus a blank equals 16 plus a blank. Remember, b divided by 2 squared. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Square it is 9. Add 9 on both sides. Factor this side out and add this one, 25. So we end up with x and 3 here. And our sign is, remember, it's determined by this negative 6, so it's going to be a negative 3. Take a square root of both sides. Don't forget your plus or minus. X minus 3 equals plus or minus 5. X minus 3 equals 5. X minus 3 equals negative 5. X equals 8. X equals negative 2. And those are our two answers there. Let's look at another example here. Now, this one's a little bit different. It also has a coefficient in front of our x squared, but we can't factor it out this time. So we are just going to divide everything by 4. So we end up with x squared minus 11 over 4x plus 3 halves, which is 6/4 just reduced, equals 0. Move that 3 halves over. And the nice thing about these complete the squares is we're just doing the same process over and over and over again. So we're still going to take our b value, divide by 2, square it. In this case, 11/4 divided by 2 is the same as 11/4 times 1/2. And that's always how it is with our fractions, just a quick reminder there. So this is really 11/8, and then we want to square that. So in this blank, I'm going to write 11/8 squared, because remember, when we factor this, we take the square root of that c term, our constant, and that is just going to be our 11/8 there. but we need to add something to our right side as well. So we're going to have to add 121 over 64, which is 11/8 squared. So 121 over 64 here. We'll finish factoring this. X minus 11/8 quantity squared, and negative 3/2 plus 121 over 64. We need common denominator, so to get from 2 to 64, we multiply by 32 over 32. Negative 3 times 32. I guess we could do this down here if you need to. We should get negative 96 over 64. Now, negative 96 plus 121 is 25. So this should give us 25 over 64. Now we take the square root of both sides here. Don't forget your plus or minus on the right side. So x minus 11/8 equals square root of 25 over 64 is plus or minus 5/8. That's convenient because now when we add this 11/8 over in these steps, it should give us a nice answer. So x minus 11/8 equals 5/8, and x minus 11/8 equals negative 5/8. We add 11. 5 plus 11 is 16 over 8 is 2. Negative 5 plus 11 is 6 over 8. Which reduces to 3/4. And those are our two answers. X equals 2 and x equals 3/4. So this may happen sometimes where you get a fraction as an answer, but you see how it doesn't really muddy up our process too much. It's still the same process.